Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to Woodlawn Lake Park. Councilwoman Sandoval is going to give you a little history of this park, I'm sure. I want to thank the White House and the DNC for always taking time to highlight the good work that's going on right here in San Antonio, Texas. We're grateful for their efforts to promote and enact equitable policies to ensure that we can all build back better. The moment we recognized the gravity of the situation that our country was in and the reality of the situation with regard to the pandemic, I believe was when we saw the images that were emanating from San Antonio, Texas, of the families, the hundreds of families lined up for assistance from our San Antonio Food Bank. It was a recognition of the thousands of families, tens of thousands of families in San Antonio and millions of American families across the country who were that close to the brink of economic devastation long before the pandemic even started. That's when I believe all of us recognized that this would be a reckoning for our entire country. What we decided to do here in San Antonio is build ourselves on teamwork and to ensure that we're working together to ensure that no family got left behind. So immediately we transitioned one of our housing policies called the Risk Mitigation Fund into an emergency housing assistance program to ensure that no one lost the roof over their heads because of this pandemic. That program's budget is now $190 million, has served over 45,000 households, and yes, is now supported by millions of dollars from the American Rescue Plan. And in San Antonio, we're especially thrilled that the American Rescue Plan affords local governments the opportunity to recover lost revenues. Our hotel occupancy tax is built on a thriving hospitality industry, our local economy's third largest sector, and it's unfortunately been very hard hit by the pandemic. Recovering our lost revenues means that our proposed fiscal year budget now includes 0 cuts to critical services and infrastructure, which is pretty amazing when you consider all that we've been through during this year. Looking ahead, the Biden administration's American Jobs Plan and infrastructure framework promise to create new, well-paying jobs that create generational opportunities for working families across the country, and there's no better place to illustrate that than right here in San Antonio. And I know all of you recognize the great work that's already been taking place, and the good news that's already on the horizon as of this morning, new record lows in terms of job loss since this pandemic began. Locally, our economy will invest, with voter approval, a total of $240 million in workforce development and degree completion programs, all without raising taxes. Hundreds of residents have already begun their new careers, and thousands more are currently enrolled in our training pipelines. The administration's commitment to a workforce development will run parallel to our local efforts to provide for steep change to our community's trajectory, onward and upward, breaking cycles of generational poverty that not only have gripped San Antonio, but communities across the country. Because in San Antonio and across the United States, we must reject the notion that economies are struggling with a talent shortage. The raw talent exists in each of our communities. It's been here for generations. We've just refused to tap into it, but that is finally changing. So as our eyes open, our charge is to close the gaps we know exist: skills gaps, education gaps, wage gaps, socioeconomic and digital divides. Because investing in our workforce families, investing in our working families will permanently alter the course of our city and of our nation. So thank you to everyone who's here. Thank you, Congressman Castro, Julian, Councilwoman Sandoval, our community representatives, and every San Antonio resident who's ready for a brighter future. We are so glad to welcome the Build Back Better bus here and say, in San Antonio, we're ready to work. Now let me invite now to the stage my colleague, Councilwoman Ana Sandoval.